Peace. What's good, guys? How's it going? Hope you guys are doing well. Let's talk about and discuss NXT for October the 11th, 2022. This was a pretty decent show. It was fun. I enjoyed it for the most part. First match of the night, Bron Breakker versus Javier Bueno, my boy. And I'm hoping that they bring Elektra Lopez in to kind of manage Javier. I think that'd be a pretty good little combo right there. I think he could be something in the mid-card. I think he would do very, very well in the mid-card, and in due time be a future NXT champion. He's got the charisma. He has a pretty decent character. I like it. Bron Breakker, he wins via the military press power slam for the 3. Post-match, Breakker, he's celebrating for a second. So, JD McDonough, he was out on commentary during the match. Then, McDonough, he comes in the ring. Him and Breakker have a stare down. The fans chant Draganov, and then out of nowhere, Draganov hits. He does his little pose. The 3 of them stare each other down. And then JD, he hits Draganov with a headbutt, and then he starts wheeling on Bron Breakker, and then Ilia, he attempts to go for the Moscow torpedo, but he hits Bron by mistake. So JD, he dips out of the way, and that was that. So I like this. This is interesting. You know, it's interesting to see where it goes. I still do think that Bron is going to go over in the match, the triple threat match. I think he's still going to retain his championship. I don't see him being dethroned by Draganov or McDonough. I just don't see it. I think that honor belongs to either Carmelo Hayes, Tony D'Angelo, or possibly Apollo Crews if he can get his act together. Moving on, we got a pre-packaged video promo by Alba Fyre, and she talked about her feud with Mandy, that she's going to get Mandy at Halloween Havoc, but tonight she's going to take out JC Jane. We didn't get a little promo / video package for Axiom and Nathan Frazier. So this is the final of the best of 3 series between Axiom and Nathan Frazier. So it's just a fucking spot fest. Frazier ends up winning into a roll-up. Yawn, who gives a fuck? I'm happy that he's there. I'm happy that he's involved into the ladder match, but it doesn't really matter. We then go to Mackenzie Mitchell. She's backstage. She's talking to Ilia, and he's dressed to leave. And they talk about what happened earlier, and then out of nowhere, Grayson Waller, he comes in. He's laughing. He knows that Draganov is a fan of his. They had some choice words for one another. And then Waller says no one cares about Mackenzie's feelings. He then said that how Ilia wanted to be an Edge for his Halloween Havoc match, but he needs no Edge when he faces Apollo Crews at Halloween Havoc. And then Dragunov asks Grayson why he's wearing his mother's sunglasses. Waller says he's not. It's just that Crews tried blinding him last week, and that his eyes are still sensitive. Then he asked Draganov why he's changing the subject. They have some more choice words, and then they have a match later on, which seems to be the main event. And Waller blames Mackenzie Mitchell for all his problems. So we move on backstage. Valentina Perez, she's backstage with Sonya. She asked him to be her, if he'll be in her corner tonight, and he says he's always with her. And then she's warming up, that being Perez. And then out of nowhere, Hartwell, she comes in. She says that that this might be Perez's jungle, but tonight this is Indy's ring, and that sets up for an impromptu match. Perez versus Indy Hartwell. Hartwell wins, and she seems a lot more aggressive, that being Hartwell. So I kind of like it. So we have Pretty Deadly. They come out next. They're on the skybox or whatever, and they are dressed like clowns, like they always are. They put themselves over. They congratulate Indy on winning, and then they talk shit about the fans. And then they just said that they're basically here to watch the triple threat, and they belittle all three teams. And then they continue to crack jokes about American sports culture, and then they cheer themselves on. So then we have a triple threat #1 contenders match. Edris, Enofe, and Malik Blade versus Briggs and Jensen versus the Dyad. So towards the end of the match, Cameron Grimes comes out. He hits a cave-in on Joe Gacy. And then I think it was Blade who got the roll-up pin on one of the guys of the Dyad, one of the members. And I'm happy about that. I love Edris and Blade. I really do. I like them. They are good. And I'm glad that they're actually in the spot. It makes sense. This is going to be a really good match. Two interesting, charismatic teams. Finally glad that they're in the spot. They've worked their asses off. They've been jobbers for quite some time, but I'm glad that they are finally getting what they deserved. And this should be interesting. Moving on, I forgot to mention earlier, we had a video package from Apollo Crews, and Apollo says, your views of the world are shaped by how you allow yourself to see it from your own lens. Most people live their entire lives through a forced perspective, seeing things in an uncomplicated way, but changing one detail can greatly alter how you visualize the things around you, and now you see things you never saw coming. Cruz said he waited two long months for the day where he got to face Waller, and at Halloween Havoc we'll see what happens. So I forgot to mention that. Moving on, so we get Cora Jade. She's backstage talking to Mackenzie Mitchell. She says that Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez will engage in picture poison next week. Jade says she has the whole roster to choose from. She's already contacted some people, but the hard part will be narrowing it down. She says it'll be hard for Perez because she has no friends and nobody likes her. Everyone's ghosting her from Raw and SmackDown. Mackenzie says she's talked to Perez and that her DMs are blowing up with interest from multiple superstars. Jade says Perez is blatantly lying now. This is not possible because she has no friends. Mackenzie says she's going to SmackDown. Mackenzie says that Perez is going to SmackDown this Friday. Jade isn't happy about this. She says she's going to make some phone calls and head to Monday Night Raw. And then she wanted to know if Mackenzie had Raw Women's Champion Bianca Belair's number. So that's interesting. I'm interested to see who they're going to pick. I don't know. You got a couple people from Raw, but I don't think that, you need someone that Jade can beat with ease. I would probably say maybe like a Dana Brooke, something like that for her. And then maybe for Roxanne, probably, I don't know, maybe like Natalia or whatever. I don't know. There's just, it's not that many to choose from. You don't want to send your best. I wouldn't send Shotzi. I wouldn't send Raquel. I just don't know. I just would have to send somebody that's going to be. I would want to send somebody who's low on the mid card scene. So that's just what I would do. Moving on, we had Mackenzie Mitchell. She's backstage with Gigi and JC. They're not happy about failing to become the new number one contenders last week. They blame Alba Fyre and their promise to get revenge tonight. They tease a possible surprise for Fyre if she decides to try and surprise them again tonight. Alba Fyre versus JC Jane. Alba Fyre wins via the Gory Bomb into the Swanton for the win. No, she hits the Gory Bomb for the win. My bad. Apologize. Post-match, this was fucking great. So, Alba, she's standing tall. Her music plays, and out of nowhere, she's grabbed by someone dressed in all black from the crowd. Then she's knocked out. The person revealed is to be Sonya Deville. That's fucking awesome. So the fans chant Deville as she smiles, and she attacks Fyre at ringside and unloads. And then all three ladies do a shield-like powerbomb, and that was fucking awesome. So this is great. This makes perfect sense. I'm glad that Sonya is doing some work in NXT. It really does make sense because this is believable. We all know that her and Mandy have history, and you had to have someone who was going to step in for Mandy in her absence. So, perfect fucking choice for Sonya to be in this role. I like it. I dig it. I'm all for it. Like, this is fucking awesome. It's great. I'm interested to see where this goes anyway. So, Schism, they're backstage. They're pissed off. So they knock a camera over, and Joe Gacy, he yells a message to Grimes. He says that they tried to bring Cameron Grimes into their world, but now they must eliminate him from it. And then Joe Gacy tried so hard to save Grimes from his pathetic existence, but now Grimes must face them 3-on-1. Joe continues on and says that Grimes will fight just like Cameron Grimes can, and he will use every ounce of oxygen in his body until he takes his last gasp. And then Schism, they dip out, and then we see another person in the hoodie from last week trailing behind him. I have my own theory on that. I think it'll probably be possibly maybe either Tiffany Stratton, that's like a third choice. Second choice would probably be Blair Davenport, because we haven't seen her in a minute. So it could be Blair Davenport, or it could be someone else in NXT UK. But it's trying to be somebody, of that variety. Probably Blair Davenport. I don't know. They'll probably reveal her at Halloween Havoc anyway. So we don't have too much longer left to wait. Just a week. Moving on, Wesley versus Stax. So Wesley wins. And then post-match, Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes, they beat the shit out of Wesley for a moment, but then Ora Mensa, he comes out and makes the save. And both Wesley and Mensa stand tall, so I assume this is going to be a tag match next week anyway. So, yeah. So, Mackenzie, she's interviewing Gigi, JC, and Sonya Deville backstage. She asks Deville why she's here. Deville says it's pretty obvious. She says she and United NXT Women's Champion Mandy Rose may have had their differences, but they're still best friends. And if Dolan and Jane are Rose's girls, then they're also Deville's girls. Does that make sense, she said? And then Deville doesn't know what Alba Fyre is thinking with her flaming bat, but she thinks that Fyre may have burned up her brain cells, because you can't just abduct the greatest the greatest women's NXT champion and get away with no consequences. Deville says that's why she's here, and then she tells Mackenzie to go outside the trainer's room and tell Alba Fyre that next week Deville will be waiting for her in the ring if she chooses to show up, but she's not gonna make it to Halloween Havoc. Damn. So I do like that. I'm glad that we got a really good explanation, and it makes 1000% sense. I love what they're doing. It does make sense. Sometimes in life people do have differences, but you can look past those differences. So this is cool, and I think this will probably translate well on the main roster as well, because Mandy is going to be on the main roster in due time. I would probably say around the Royal Rumble, we could probably see her and Bron on the main roster, especially Bron, because he was at Extreme Rules. Him and Nikita Lyons, they're in the crowd, so so the Creep Brothers, they're at a hospital waiting. Ivy Nile, she returns with a beaten down Roderick Strong, who's in a wheelchair. He's wearing a neck brace. He says that he's good. It's good that he gets to see him. He says he's almost ready to get out of here. The Creed said it's tough to see Strong like this. Ivy says Strong looks better than he did last week. Strong says one day at a time. Brutus Creed says that Naaman Kemp will pay for what he did to Strong when Julius Creed puts him in an ambulance match at Halloween Havoc. Strong, he basically apologizes, says that he's the one who brought Kemp into the group, and that he might be the reason that Diamond Mine is over. Julius says that won't happen. He's got him. Strong says he'll be fighting with them. Strong said he'd be fighting with them a few weeks ago, but he needs one thing from Julius at Halloween Havoc, and that's just to win, because it's Diamond Mine now. And then they did their whole little Diamond Mine pose, and then they say it's forever. So that was fucking cool. So it's interesting to see where that will go. Then we have Kiana James versus Thea Hale. Very short match. It was a squash match. So Hale eats a big DDT from Kiana James with a quick win. Mr. Stone, he came out and he grabbed Maik and he apologized to James. Says he has business to handle. He says that he should be celebrating Von Wagner's winning Halloween Havoc, but instead the world is laughing at him because of Hale. And then Hale mocks Stone and he says that she had the audacity to slam him, and the fans chant, "You got slammed." He asked if it was really a good idea to put his hands on him. Stone says now he will ruin Hale's night, and then Stone turns around and charges at hell, but she hits a big back body drop on him. So, okay, who gives a fuck? You know, I fucking despise Von Wagner and Mr. Stone. I really do. So, Stax, he's backstage. Tony D, he appears. My boy's on crutches. So, Stax asked how he's doing. He says he's better than Stax. Tony blames Stax for being on the apron and how he got him injured a few weeks ago against Wesley. Stax, he apologizes. Tony says actions have consequences. Stax said this, my bad, let me start over again. Stax said this himself, and that Stax will find out next week because he's got another match. So Stax repeatedly asked if it's against Lee. He's like, nah. He asked him again, and Stax says he'll fight anybody. Tony recalls when Stax fought Ralphie in the 8th grade, when Ralphie cut him up in the lunch line. Stax says that was a war, and Tony says it'll be like that. Tony, he leaves, but then Stax asks him one more time, who's his opponent? And then Tony says Stax will find out next week when the music hits. Then we have the main event, Ilja Dragunov versus Grayson Waller. Ilia wins. Post-match, Bron Breakker, he spears Draganov, and then JD McDonough, he's in the crowd celebrating with the crowd that Bron won. He's clapping, and then we go out there. So it's interesting to see where this all goes. I'm digging it. I like the whole Sangha and Veer thing as well. I love Sonya Deville showing up. I love what they're doing with Bron, JD, and Ilia. I'm interested to see the whole picture of Poison, how that's going to play out next week. I'm interested who's going to face Tony D. I'm also interested in seeing at Halloween Havoc who are going to be the partners of Cameron Grimes. So that's going to be interesting right there. But all in all, this was a pretty good episode of NXT. This was decent. So on that note, thank you guys for watching. Please hit the like button, comment down below. I'll catch you guys later. Peace.
Tune in.